Several years ago, a woman who was about Max's age, about 30, had come to me with this question: am I too picky or not picky enough? It was so clear to me that she was not picky enough, and I'll tell you why. She had gone out on 200 dates at the age of 30. She basically accepted every setup, every single date that anybody suggested. And she was leaving the session with me to travel 3.5 hours to meet a man for a second date that she felt no attraction for, that she didn't feel compatible with, but she was going to spend money, spend time, and really waste her energy on somebody who was not compatible. And so I helped her do some of the things that I'm going to help you do today on this video. Let's talk about some signs you're too picky. Max, you want to say the first one?
Yeah. I mean, when you expect butterflies in the first date, I think we've all been there before, where it's like, if you don't feel that immediate chemical thing where you're like, oh my God, you want to kind of leave. You're like, this is not for me. I'm not feeling an immediate connection. I don't think anything's going to happen. I used to get like that all the time, but it's really important not to give in to that first feeling of the butterflies, because usually it's a bad thing. That's what I've come to realize. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been scientifically proven that the spark is usually lust, and is usually
anxiety.
Right. It's anxiety. Oh my God, that you put them on a pedestal,
Right.
and you're not showing up as your real self. So if you're, oh my God, butterflies, I mean, it's good to have attraction, but if it's so high that you lose yourself, then that's not good. And also, if you expect to know the minute you walk in the room and have all these butterflies, I mean, so many profiles online say, I will know the minute you walk in the room. It's not true, but you can also get a feeling that somebody's really not for you. But we'll talk about that
Right.
a little bit later. Second sign that you're too picky is that your must-have list is unrealistic.
Well, let's talk about what the must-have list is first.
Yeah.
If you don't already know what that is, you want to?
Sure. I mean, you can take that.
I mean, it kind of self-explanatory, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a must-have list. I've heard about this from a few different coaches, but it's really important. Just like you have a 5-year plan with your life, you kind of want to map out what things you're looking for in a partner. And obviously that means that you have to get clear with who you are as a person, but your must-have list is kind of your top 5, top 10 criteria that you're looking for. You're looking for 5?
I like to keep it to 5, because
I say 5 hard ones, 10, 5 maybes. But it's good. Well, how do you feel about that?
Well, the narrower you can make that list, and so it's got to be some really strong things that you can't live without. And the deal breakers are the things you can't live with. And so you want to create that list. I have many videos on how to create that list, but basically you want to get clear with how you want to feel with that person. It's not about they have to look a certain way or have a certain job. You want to feel safe with that person, for example. So emotionally safe, who does that person have to be? A good communicator. That's a must-have. Like, if that person communicates poorly, it's just not going to work. So these are things that the relationship would end if these things were missing. And it's hard to come up with this list on your own, which is why I work on it with my clients. But once you have that list, it helps to guide you to be picky about the right things and not about the wrong things.
Because it's really about you. It's the way that you want to act in the world, like how you want to show up, show up, stand up, speak up. It's all the stuff that you talk about, but it's what are the behaviors that make you feel confident and calm and in your lane, like being the best you. And then once you get clear with what that looks like, then you can expect that from the people that you want to invite into your life, romantically, professionally, because it's all connected. I always talk about that every time we do these things, but it's in every area of your life. You have to get clear with who you are first. And then once you know that, everything else comes a lot easier.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the best you, bringing out the best you. I think we often get into relationships where our best self does not show up, but we're still hooked. We're so attracted to this person that our worst self comes out. We start to diminish who we really are. And so knowing who you are, knowing how you want to feel is such a key part of the pickiness that you should have in relationships. The last point of a sign that you're too picky is that you have romance novel expectations. You come in expecting what you see in the movies, and you read in these romance novels that a person's going to come in on a white horse and you're going to be swept away. And usually those are about people, like if you look at fairy tales, the woman has passed out because she's taken poison and the man has come to save her. I mean, these are super codependent relationships and not realistic. And when that's your model for relationships, you have these expectations. You're gonna feel it, and it's gonna be amazing. So you need to have true expectations, and that comes from really hanging out with couples who are healthy, people who are in healthy relationships. It helps you to see what's reality here. Often that is people who can laugh together, people who support each other, who respect each other. Those should be on your must-have list, not these crazy somebody who's going to rescue you.
Even, I mean, the romance novel stuff and all those movies, if anyone does stuff like that in real life, most of the time you would probably call the cops on them.
Right.
You know, somebody shows up at, midnight playing with a boombox outside your window, you'd be like, come back in the morning and we can talk about this over coffee like normal people. Like,
Right.
don't say that you'll wait for me forever, because that's just weird. I mean, like and when we see these things, there's a real need for connection that a lot of us have. And when you see stuff like that, it's like, I would love somebody to fight for me like they do in the movies. But then in real life, I have avoidant tendencies. And if somebody were to be that into me and show up like that, I would run away. I'd be like, this is so strange. This is, what is this? And then you see the movies, you're like, oh, right, that's the stuff I thought I wanted, but this doesn't feel good. So for sure, don't have the romance novel expectations. It's just not realistic.
Right. No boombox at midnight.
Unless they're playing your favorite song.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about 3 signs that you're not picky enough. And I find this to be the case often. So the first sign is you go on too many dates with people who are wrong for you. So again, you're not paying attention to your must-have list. And you just keep going on date after date, like the woman who traveled 3.5 hours to go on a second date and spend money, time, energy, her heart, her openness. That's exhausting. And so if you're not picky enough, you're going to wear yourself down.
I think in the beginning of everybody's dating journey, you're not coming from a place of abundance. It's more from a scarcity mindset. I need to find someone for whatever reason. And I don't mean to pigeonhole everybody, but it's, at least for me, that's how it felt, where it's like, I'm so lucky that I'm going on a date. I'm so lucky that this person said yes, or anything like that. But you miss a lot of signs, whether or not you're compatible with the person. And a date shouldn't be this super awkward, fumbling for things to talk about. You really need to pre-qualify somebody before you give your time, because you need to start treating yourself like you're at choice in your life, and not things are just happening to you and you're a victim or just a passenger in your life. You really need to participate in your success and in your, building your own story. So it's, I think for sure, don't go on a ton of dates just to go on dates. It's a good experience. And obviously you're not going to know for sure whether or not you can pre-qualify somebody before, until you're really there, but you get a vibe for someone. You got to start listening to your gut.
Yes. And you just inspired another point, which is when people are not picky enough, they get stuck in the if onlys, we call them. That person would be great if only they had a job, if only they weren't so lazy, or if only they were. Yeah. And so we like certain things about them, but we get stuck in the potential of who they could be. And they're not that yet. And in fact, they're very far from that. And they're not working on that. And so you stay and they keep promising you they're going to change, and nothing changes. So you got to pay attention to those cues that somebody's words and actions don't match, or that the potential you're seeing in them, they're not yet seeing for themselves, and you can't fix people. We want to share one more. You go on too many dates without attraction or compatibility. A lot of times I see, and I've done it myself, that the attraction isn't there. Like it's like a two, it's like super low, but you think, such a nice person. And we're compatible in certain ways. So maybe the attraction will grow and you're already on date 3, date 4, and you're not feeling like you could kiss this person. That's somebody who's not picky enough. Max?
Yeah, it's all this stuff. I think there's a tendency to make all of these things with dating a lot more complicated than they are. But at the end of the day, you really just have to start believing in yourself and really know what you want and don't want, because that's the must-have list. That's true for any area of your life. If you're not clear with your direction, it's kind of like that quote, like if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that's kind of like dating as many people. You might end up finding somebody who's great. You might end up where you're going, but life is a lot more enjoyable when you really do a lot of introspection. Don't stay stuck in your brain, but figure out what's going to make you feel alive and what's going to make you feel like you're slowly dying and want to run away from the date as fast as you can, or go to the bathroom and never come back.
You're right.
I'm sure people have done that before, but it's all these things are all tied in. You really have to get clear with what makes you happy and what makes you feel, turned on in every area, spiritually, physically, and then get clear with that, write it down and look for it. Date with accountability, date with purpose, live your life with purpose and accountability. Like really just start doing things in the driver's seat because you feel more in control. You feel more alive that way. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, so this is the solution to the problem of, not knowing, am I too picky? Am I not picky enough? That clarity about your must-have list in all areas of your life, but especially in romance, that if you are super clear about that, then you're going to check that list every time. And you're going to go, am I feeling these feelings? Am I bored? Am I looking at my watch an hour into the date because this conversation is not inspiring me in any possible way? Or I'm feeling this person's really stuck and making me feel stuck. Those are things to pay attention to. And so once you are clear about that must-have list and the deal breaker list, be honest with yourself about sticking to it, because if you don't, you start making excuses for the inexcusable.
And be honest with the other person too. If it's not going to work out, we talked about this last week, but with not ghosting or not slow fading, all of these things are connected in living a more empowered life. And when you can communicate, first of all, with yourself about what you want and what you don't want, it's a lot easier to talk to other people in the same way. And you start kind of training people, even strangers, how you want to be treated. A lot of people I know, I've read in many forums, people are always feeling like people are taking advantage of them and people are walking all over them, or at work, there's a boss who's making them feel less than. And your life does not need to be like that when you get clear with what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you get clear with what you want, you can start to learn the language that works for you, how to ask for what you want. And that's what we're basically talking about here, where it's like, I know that I will not stand for this, this, and this anymore because I've been treated really badly in my life, or I really love when somebody is passionate about their career and I want more of that. I want people who know kind of what they want to do. So it's, just following those principles, you will live a better life, I think.
Absolutely. Like, I know I need to be with somebody who's worked on themselves, who takes responsibility for what they've created here in the world and what they want to create. And if they're a victim, it's such a huge turnoff for me. So the second point in the solution is to let go of anything that is nice to have. That's not your must have. That's a nice to have. So be super, super strict about your deal breaker must have list. And then, if you have this long list of 70 qualities, which some people actually have, that's nice to have. And those things would include, he has to be a CEO of a company, or he has to play golf, or he has to be 6 feet tall. You might meet the most amazing person who's not 6 feet tall, who doesn't play golf, who has a job doing something that you never imagined would be compatible with you. But this person is inspiring and is following their dreams and their passions, and there's a great connection. So you could miss a lot of amazing people if you have a super long list that's not realistic.
And I think it's important to have experiences. Maybe something is not going to, lead to a lasting relationship or even an exclusive relationship, but every single thing that you do in your life is, hopefully is a learning lesson.
Yeah, and every date is your teacher. You have to experience life. You can't just be in the thought process of it. And I need to read another book and watch 10 more videos and listen to 16 more episodes of a podcast before I go on a date. Like, get out there in the school of life, in the school of love.
Yeah, make mistakes.
Yeah, make those mistakes.
And learn from them.
Right. I mean, each one, if you're applying the lessons learned, you're growing along the way. And also, no date is a waste of time, in my opinion. I think unless you just keep going on dates that you haven't really vetted at all and you're just feeling exhausted, that could shut you down from dating. So the last point is, and I feel most important point, is to know how you want to feel with the right person, because your body doesn't lie. Your brain may overrule your body and say, oh no, that's not important. The fact that you don't feel comfortable or you don't feel your best or all the things that we talked about today, your body's going to tell you. It's going to be tense. You're going to feel shallow breathing. Your fists might be clenched. Clammy, right? Anxious.
Yeah.
Max, how have you been when it's been the person who's not the right person?
Yeah, it's because for me, it's a little bit tricky because I get caught up in the butterflies, or at least I used to before I started, doing a lot of this work. You get caught up in, oh my God, that person's so hot, or that person's so cool, and I can't believe they're talking to me and all this stuff. But if you're always feeling anxious whenever you're around them, or you're not fully trusting that they're going to stick around, it's usually it's going to be a waste of time in the end, because you want to feel wanted. You want to be with people who want to spend time with you. And if the person's kind of fleeting, or they're only giving you half of the attention that that you deserve, rather, it's kind of a waste of time. So I think it's really important you focus on yourself and you focus on trying to be the best version of yourself. And if the other person's not where you are, that's fine, best of luck. But I'm looking for people who I can feel comfortable around. I'm looking for people that I feel safe. I feel like I can relax and be myself and be funny and bring all of the things that I know make me feel good to a partnership.
Well said. And, for anybody who really believes, if I let this person go, that's it, that's my only chance, I'd love for you to share your bus analogy.
Yeah, I was just thinking that there's another bus every 10 minutes. And it's not my quote. I mean, this is a very famous thing, but it's the truth. And in any job, any relationship, any friendship, as maybe psychotic as it sounds, because this is really not a commonly adapted look on life, you really can start over at any point. And you don't want to keep things and people in your life that don't make you feel good. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's another bus every 10 minutes. If somebody's not making you feel like the best version of yourself, or they're making you feel weird or stupid or sad, or self-conscious about maybe a body image thing that you have, that you're working on, anything in your life that you're trying to do, if somebody's making you feel negative, you have to either get clear with them that it's making you feel bad. And if they don't receive it in a good way, that's it. I mean, like, you can move forward, start over again. There's so many people in the world. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a woman in our Facebook group who used to always say, there's always more dudes. So instead of trying to...
And dudettes.
So instead of trying to shapeshift the person into, Frankensteining them into who you want them to be, which doesn't work, as anybody who's stayed too long in a relationship knows, just accept the fact that this is not the right fit and keep moving with your clarity and your focus and your intention to find the partner that works for you.